Why are they remaking games that still work perfectly? Black Flag already succeeds at the things people remember remakes for: atmosphere, gameplay fantasy, visual identity, and replayability. Black Flag succeeds because it commits fully to the pirate fantasy. Ubisoft doesn't need to remake it, they just need to stop making games that forgot why Black Flag worked. To prove this point, I decided to play the 360 version of the game through backwards compatibility. Replaying it after over a decade, I'm shocked how well it still holds up. It avoids many modern Ubisoft problems, and honestly, a remake could actually make the game worse. Originally released in 2013, God I'm getting old. It came out at a much needed time for the franchise. AC3 wasn't quite the hit Ubisoft was expecting reception-wise. I liked the game, but even I could admit it felt bland, with an unappealing setting, and Connor was a boring protagonist. People started to feel fatigued with the annual releases. The main standout besides Haytham was the naval combat, something it feels like Ubisoft wasn't too sure about when they put it in AC3. But people seemed to like it, which led to Black Flag. If Ubisoft didn't test the water in AC3, this series could have very well ended years ago. Black Flag accidentally became timeless. It wasn't designed around trends, it was designed around a fantasy. That's why it aged so well. With Black Flag, it's clear Ubisoft listened to the fans, something they haven't done for a long time. Black Flag is the opposite of AC3, it puts fun first. An exciting setting, charismatic protagonist, and the pirate fantasy was instantly appealing. It also doesn't have any modern AC systems like RPG progression, endless loot, and massive bloated maps. Black Flag just wanted you to feel like a pirate for a reasonable amount of time. They accomplished this by having the second best protagonist in the franchise, behind Ezio, Edward Goddamn Kenway. And no, I don't like him so much just because he's a fellow Welshman. Edward goes on a fantastic arc. He starts off selfish, he's driven by greed and ego. He becomes a pirate so he can live the good life back in London. He leaves his wife behind to find his fortune, even though she was happy without the money. He has his flaws and fails constantly. Many of the game's tragedies are caused by his actions. He is the reason so many assassins die, because he sold off their location for a bit of florins. But he does slowly, and I mean slowly, grow into someone better. Only after hitting rock bottom does Edward learn fortune and glory is nothing compared to love and honour. It's a great development to watch unfold. Similar to Ezio, they both start out as not assassins, and must learn what it takes to become one. It sounds simple, but compared to the later entries, where the protagonists are already assassins, and don't feel like they develop over the story. I'm not saying every game has to have them become assassins by the end, but it's proven it works well in the earlier games. Edward feels human and relatable. We all dream of having a better life, and he was doing this all for his wife, at least that's what he tells himself. It also helps he is really charming, especially compared to Connor. Matt Ryan gives a great performance. Pair this with his role as Constantine and it's baffling why he isn't in more stuff. Having the actor and character both be Welsh adds a lot. Edward's Welsh wit feels natural, and I get a kick out of him saying Welsh phrases like shut your gob. I don't know why the French developers were the ones to put Welsh people in their games, but it really pays off. It also helps Edward's character, he's in a banger of a story. The game takes place during the golden age of piracy, and during its sad end. Edward is friends with a lot of famous pirates like Blackbeard and Mary Read. They're not just cameos either, he has real connections with them. They shape the man who he will become. Blackbeard is what Edward will become if he stays on his path. He will have all the gold and infamy he ever wanted, but he won't live long enough to enjoy it. Blackbeard just wants to retire. He is over 40 and can see the dream of a place where people are free won't work out. Mary Read wants Edward to be a better person. She is an assassin who tries to teach Edward that freedom without purpose becomes emptiness. He could be doing good instead of just taking everything for himself. The longer the game goes on, the lonelier Edward will become. A pirate's life can only be a short and merry one. All of his friends will eventually be killed by the British. It's quite tragic that it takes Edward too long to realise what's actually important to him. The story works because it's more about pirates than assassins. Like, I already brought the main plot about stopping the Templars. That should technically be a problem, but it isn't. It uses the setting they chose to tell a story that could only be told in their setting, and they get the most out of it. Stopping the Templars just so happens to line up Edward's goal of getting rich. The iconic chats after he assassinates are well done here. These chats feel important to Edward's development. They clearly make him think about what they have said. One that should be insignificant is actually one of my favourites. You kill a guy who sells slaves. You kill him in the same sequence he's introduced. This normally means they aren't too important. As he is dying, you'll ask Edward's motive, who says, I was only after a bit of coin. The dying slaver says, as was I, lad, as was I. It hits, bro. What really is the difference between Edward and this man at this point in the story? A line like that has to get Edward reflecting. Then when he starts having these chats with people he actually knows, some even old friends, you can tell the words must affect him. The writing is shockingly on point for a series that isn't known for it. In the remake, they have talked about adding scenes and updating old ones. This worries me. The story works perfectly now, and I don't know if Ubisoft has the writers that can match this quality. If you have to add more scenes, somewhere we see Edward actually being friends with the pirates like Rackham and Vane could help, but obviously they aren't necessary. They said they are going to add more scenes with Edward's wife, which I'm against. You see just enough of her here to get the sad story. We don't need more of her. It might end up over-explaining what we already know. They also better not touch the ending scene because that is beautiful as it is now. Black Flag is remembered so fondly not because it's a good Assassin's Creed game, but because it is the best pirate game and it has no competition. Ubisoft spent years trying to recreate Black Flag's magic and failed completely with Skull and Bones. This game was everything you want from the pirate fantasy. Sailing in storms, boarding ships, hunting for buried treasure, exploring islands, and most importantly it has sea shanties. I had the biggest smile on my face when I was at Full Sail. Edward shouted, "Give us a shanty, lads!" And they started singing "Leave Her Johnny, Leave Her." I was sucked back to 2013. It's an unmatched feeling that only this game could provide. Everything flows together naturally. You want to sail around exploring so you can find money and upgrades, which will lead to you having a better ship. Mean you can board and loot bigger ships that have more money and resources. Mean you can get more upgrades to take on the biggest ships. A game is made or broken by its gameplay loop, and Black Flag has a great loop. Everything you do feels like it has a purpose. This stops the game from becoming like modern Ubisoft games, a giant checklist. Black Flag feels like an adventure. I've played this game multiple times in the past. At the start of this playthrough I told myself I didn't need to 100% it again. Still I did everything again because it felt wrong not to. I found all the chests because I wanted money and they contain upgrades. I did all the contracts because you get the best swords and guns for doing them. And I got all the shanties because you can never have enough shanties. The only truly pointless things are the shards. They unlock stuff in the multiplayer, which doesn't work anymore. It also helps you're rarely interrupted by menus, grinding, stat systems, and mind them in side missions. God, I hate Valhalla. Like there are a handful of side missions here you have to do to unlock the Templar outfit. These missions have actual direction during the cutscenes. It's not just two stiff characters stood still recycling animations. It's cinema compared to the RPG games. They also somehow managed to make the Jackdaw feel like a character. It starts off small and weak, but becomes the most feared ship on all the seas by the end. Every time you return to the ship it feels like coming home. The crew will cheer and welcome you back, which adds a lot of character. Even though you don't really get to know your crew. They will also shout out when stuff happens like a rogue wave is spotted, or you kill a whale. "She's a monster!" It's a little touch, but it does make the crew feel alive. Obviously the star of the show is the naval combat. It's good old fashioned fun. The combat is arcadey, but satisfying, easy to learn, hard to master, and always exciting. Which way you look depends on what you fire. Look forward and you'll fire chain shots which will slow the enemy down, or you can ram for high damage. Look behind, you can drop fire barrels which open up weak spots on the enemy. Fire to either side and you will use your cannons. The longer you aim, the more precise your shot will be. It's simple and intuitive, but it works well. There is never any downtime either. Whilst you're waiting for the cannons to reload, you can normally get shot off with the swivel guns, or you can use your mortar. Then aside of the weapons, you have to think about your positioning. You always want to steer your ship so your cannons are facing the enemy, but your enemy is trying to do the same whilst dodging your fire. Add weather effect in battles that you have to dodge tornadoes, or big waves can block cannon fire, and you have a perfect system. It's incredibly satisfying, the cannons are loud and feel powerful when they land. Then when you think you're the top dog, you try to take on the legendary ships. They will knock you down a peg. They are so difficult in the best way. I find it hilarious the hardest one is in the easiest section of the map, just to fuck with you even more. If the combat still feels this good 12 years later, why remake it? Skull and Bones couldn't improve on this. When a ship is weakened you can board it, which is also a lot of fun. You normally have to get so many kills and do an objective like destroy barrels or take the ship's flag. This can get repetitive, but you don't have to board the ships. If you destroy them instead, you can collect the loot from its wreckage. You only want to board ships if you need to repair your ship or lower your wanted level. It is part of the pirate fantasy though. Swinging from your ship into an air assassination will never not be sick. Then you land and fire 4 pistols in a row, which will always make me feel like a badass. Outside of the naval stuff is typical Assassin's Creed fare. Parkour and climb is still a lot of fun if a bit janky, it always has been. The combat is alright if a bit on the easy side. It can be too easy just to counter kill enemies. It lacks the enemy variety it needs to be great like the Arkham games. Here there are only 3 or 4 enemy types. Regular dudes, big dudes whose defense you have to break before you attack, and captains you're better off shooting. Stealth is kinda here. I like the social stealth and I hate they got rid of it in later games, but can you really call it a stealth game if you can't crouch? It's as enjoyable to be stealthy as it is in any of these AC games. All the focus is on the naval stuff, so the on-foot sections didn't see any major changes. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Black Flag stands out because of its world and atmosphere. It's a pleasant world to be in. Tropical visuals and gorgeous environments. The water and lighting even today still look incredible. Animations hold up well also. Arguably is what makes the combat and parkour feel so cool in the first place. The art direction was on point for this game. It matters more than graphical fidelity. Yes, the remake will look better, but will it capture the feeling of Black Flag? This is more important than the polygon count. A remake cannot recreate the feeling I had discovering this world back in 2013. I'm going to be fair, the game does have flaws. There are too many tailing missions. I don't hate these as much as some people do, but I'm never excited by them. I'm happy with this dialogue whilst you're doing them, but when you're tailing in silence it can become tiresome. The mission design can be a bit repetitive as well. This is the 6th main entry into the franchise. You are bound to have seen everything by now. It's fine for what it is, but I can see some people getting sick of it. Lastly, there is the modern day. I fucking love this modern day. Yeah, one of those weirdos. After Desmond's story, what could they have done? Working at Ubisoft making the next ACE game was not what I was expecting. This was a really fun meta shake-up. I genuinely enjoyed all the almost fourth wall breaks. When the woman is telling you about a trailer idea she has, and it turns out to be the actual reveal trailer for Black Flag, I can't help but think that's cool. Or when you hack into a computer and you find out they're making a book on the game, and it's the same book you can actually buy in the real world. It's neat. But it's not just these meta things. You get to see the Templar view on things. Like you can find portraits of villains of the previous games, and the descriptions will be how they were actually great and it's a shame what happened to them. As a long-time fan, I can't help but think all of this is sick. I also love the Watch Dogs crossover. The CEO leaves for Chicago and you can kill him in Watch Dogs, which is why he's missing later in Black Flag. I've said it multiple times, but it's cool. I also like the story and how it ties into Edward's story. Not to spoil it, but a character appears in both. The only negatives for me are the hacking games can be mind-numbing, and the Juno plot goes nowhere. It just gets dropped and unresolved in later games. I don't believe all my criticisms justify a remake. They're part of the game's identity. I don't trust Ubisoft not to add in bloated progression, live service elements, and microtransactions. I feel like they will lose the simplicity of this game. I'm more than happy to be wrong though. The fact they have said it's not an RPG gives me some hope. Ubisoft remaking Black Flag feels less like preserving a classic and more like a desperate attempt to get players back. I don't get it, why not remake AC1? That could actually do a remake. Black Flag understands pacing, player freedom, and fulfilling a fantasy. Modern Ubisoft often overstuffs the map, prioritise scale over personality, and are buggy as fuck. Black Flag feels confident, it doesn't beg for your attention. It's content with letting you sail peacefully and explore naturally. Modern Ubisoft games fear silence when Black Flag embraces it. Fans don't really want a remake, they want that old style AC to return. Origins was good, but these RPG games haven't hit the same way as the older games. Sure, they sell more, but they feel soulless. Fans aren't nostalgic for the older games, they're nostalgic for when Ubisoft made games with passion and identity. Ultimately, I had a fantastic time with Black Flag. This game's already achieved what a remake will try to achieve: a memorable world, strong gameplay, timeless atmosphere, and an iconic protagonist. It still plays well, it still looks great, and it still outclasses most modern games. Instead of remaking it, Ubisoft should learn from it. And honestly, replaying it reminded me why it sits so high on my all-time list. Time to rank it. I'm shocked it's going as high as it is. I knew I loved the game, but this playthrough has cemented it. I'm feeling number 2. It's a fun experience from start to finish, which puts it above Red Dead 2, which had its flaws and took a while to get going for me, but I can't put it above Red Dead 1. It's close, but John Marston's story hits harder for me, and that game nails the cowboy fantasy. We have our new number 2. Black Flag doesn't need a remake, Ubisoft needs another game this good.